My fiancé and biological brother harbored a decade of hatred for me. They were absolutely convinced I had bullied their beloved sweet little darling, and at my own engagement party, they exposed my crimes for all to see. She's nothing but a bully, a piece of scum who preys on her peers. In the nationwide live stream, the sweet little darling, eyes brimming with tears, offered a delicate smile. "I no longer blame you." Then, with a sigh, she added, "Looking back, I've already sailed past 1,000 mountains." Overnight, she shot to fame. I, on the other hand, was vilified by the entire world, had acid thrown on me by crazed fans, and in my desperation, dragged her down with me into death. The next time I opened my eyes, I was back in my final year of high school. The sweet little darling had just poured water over her own head and was smiling as she asked me, "Have you figured out how you're going to apologize to me?" I instantly snapped. I seized her hair, dragged her into the bathroom, and shoved her head into the toilet. "Let me teach you what real bullying looks like," I snarled. "Such a filthy mouth. Remember to wash it clean before you go tattling." My last memory of that previous life was the excruciating pain brought by concentrated sulfuric acid splashing onto my eyeballs. I gritted my teeth, enduring the searing agony, and through blurred vision, I spotted Zoe Lynn, shielded by Daniel, brother, behind him. Then I snatched a cake knife, lunged forward, and plunged it straight into her chest. "Let's go to hell together." I opened my eyes once more. The vivid scene made me pause for 2 seconds. Then I saw Zoe Lynn, looking significantly younger, not far away. She was wearing a faded school uniform, turning on a faucet and dousing her own head. As the water streamed down, she smiled and asked me, "Guess who they'll believe, me or you?" I instantly knew. So, it was that day. The very genesis of my reputation as her tormentor in my past life. Seeing me standing there stunned, Zoe Lynn's grin widened. "Have you finished thinking, miss? How do you plan to apologize to me?" Ah! A torrent of old and new hatred surged within me. I lunged forward, seized her hair, and dragged her straight into the bathroom. Amidst her shrill shriek, I shoved her face into the toilet. "Dousing yourself with a little cold water, and you think you can frame me?" I spat. "Let me teach you firsthand what real bullying looks like." Zoe Lynn struggled frantically, her arms flailing like a wind-up doll, but she couldn't break free from my grip. Her face buried in the filthy water, her mouth made muffled, gurgling sounds. "Tammy Lou, let me go. Gurgle. Wretch." I threw my head back and laughed loudly. "Such a filthy mouth," I sneered. "Remember to wash it clean before you go tattling later." Whether this was a rebirth to the past or merely a post-death hallucination, I no longer cared. I was utterly unhinged. In my previous life, I died on the zenith of my life. That day, I had just won my 3rd Best Actress trophy, clad in a couture evening gown, standing beside my childhood sweetheart, Jason Jiang, my fiancé, at our engagement party, which was live-streamed nationwide. Then he announced for all to hear, "I absolutely refuse to be engaged to a bully, a piece of trash who tormented her classmates since high school." To my horror, Zoe Lynn emerged from beneath the stage. Eyes brimming with tears, she raised her head and smiled. "Tammy Lou, do you remember me? It's Zoe Lynn, your victim for 10 years. Her smile widened. "I bet you never thought I'd be able to stand on equal footing with you one day, did you? But it's all right. I no longer blame you. Looking back, I've already sailed past 1,000 mountains." The nationwide live broadcast catapulted her to overnight stardom. Before I could even react, a crowd of reporters, conveniently arranged by Daniel and Jason Jiang, swarmed around me. "Miss Liu, is it true you still bully new actors on set? Someone recently spotted you at a women's clinic. Has your promiscuous lifestyle finally caught up to you?" A crazed fan lunged from the crowd, hurling a bottle of acid at my face. "You harlot, die!" The liquid splashed, and a searing, fiery pain spread across my entire face. From then on, my vision never returned to normal. I fell from heaven to hell in the blink of an eye. Snapping back to reality, I released my grip. I watched Zoe Lynn gasping, collapse to the ground. Her innocent, pure face was now covered in disgusting grime. I couldn't help but cackle. Cry, scream, make a scene! Go tell the whole world with that face that I bullied you! Hurry up! My voice sharpened to a shout at the end. Remembering the searing agony from my previous life when the acid had eaten away at my face, I lifted my foot and stomped on her face twice. Only then did I turn and walk away. Downstairs in the teaching block, my deskmate, Lana Sue, was waiting for me. "PE started a while ago," she said. "What were you doing upstairs?" I replied casually. "Oh, just bullying a new classmate." She turned her head, her eyes wide with shock. "What?" I said. Lu Xun once said, "When the entire world believes you're a bully, it's best if you actually become one." "Lu Xun said that?" Lana stammered. "It doesn't matter," I shrugged. We walked together towards the sports field and happened to run into Jason Jiang. He wasn't in my class, but the entire school knew he was my childhood sweetheart and boyfriend. Jason Jiang's gaze flickered past my face, vaguely settling behind me. "Tammy," he said, "why are you so late?" "Oh, right. I heard your class has a new transfer student?" In my previous life, every time Zoe Lin defamed me, he'd force me to apologize to her, then dismiss the incident. On the surface, he seemed to be on my side. But in reality, with just a few words, he would subtly solidify the accusations against me. Thinking of this, I raised my hand without warning and landed a clean slap across his face. Lana Sue beside me was shocked speechless once more. Jason Jiang's expression remained impassive, though his eyes chilled slightly, as if nothing had happened at all. He lowered his head, intimately brushing his cheek against mine. "What's wrong, Tammy? Are you in a bad mood?" It wasn't until much later in my previous life that I learned the truth. When he was young, Jason Jiang had been abandoned by his biological mother at an amusement park, then taken in by an orphanage for a time. There, he met a bright, lively little girl. They shared a bed, and she even gave him a single piece of candy. That was the sole beacon of light in his life. That beacon of light was Zoe Lin. What's more, Jason Jiang had recognized Zoe Lin the very first day she transferred to our school. From beginning to end, he had always believed Zoe Lin's claims that I bullied her, hating me to his very core. But due to his status as an illegitimate son, he had to feign patience and curry favor with me. He needed to solidify his position within the Jiang family through our marriage alliance. Thinking of this, I declared, "Let's break up." Jason Jiang's eyes narrowed drastically. "Why?" "Give me a reason, Tammy." I pulled out a tissue and meticulously wiped away the faint trace of his touch from my cheek. "I don't want to love the son of a mistress. It's filthy. Is that reason enough?" As I walked away, Lana Sue tentatively asked if I was possessed. I wasn't surprised by her query, because in high school I had liked Jason Jiang with such overt and fervent devotion. Every day after school, I would wait for him so we could walk home together, baking cookies until my hands were raw with wounds, yet I'd still beam and bring them to him. My devotion was so blatant, the entire world knew of it. But now things were different. The Tammy Lu, who had just entered her final year of high school, was dead. The person standing here was Tammy Niu, who had once died. For the rest of that day, Zoe Lin did not appear again. I knew her greatest asset was that face. Unless she could exploit it to its fullest, she wouldn't make a move easily. I waited patiently. Soon, it was Saturday, my 18th birthday. My parents had long promised a grand party to celebrate my coming of age. However, due to an urgent company matter, they would be arriving a little late. The crystal chandeliers glittered brightly. Dressed in a high-end evening gown, I descended the winding staircase into the living room. From a distance, I saw my brother, Daniel Lu. He was impeccably dressed in a suit, a cool indifference on his face, as he called out, "Tammy Lu, come here!" I walked over. I pretended not to see Jason Jiang standing behind him with a deep, unfathomable gaze, nor Zoe Lin, who was sniffling tearfully. I smiled sweetly. "What did you call me for? Is it to give me my birthday present?" Daniel Lu stared coldly at me for a few seconds, then spoke. "Bullying classmates? Insulting friends? Tammy Lu? Is this how the Lu family taught you proper conduct?" His voice rang out, clear and unwavering, not bothering to lower. Immediately, the gazes of all the guests in the room converged on us. "What are you talking about? I don't understand." I looked toward Zoe Lynn, tilting my head slightly. Who did I insult? When did I bully a classmate? I don't even know her. Being stubborn now is useless. If you do something wrong, you must pay the price. Today, Mom and Dad aren't here. I'll discipline you on their behalf. After speaking, Daniel Liu pulled a thin ruler from a nearby bookshelf. Staring intently at me, he spoke each word heavily. "Kneel." In the spacious grand hall, countless eyes fixed on us, filled with anticipation for a spectacle. What? Bullying classmates? A daughter of the Liu family would do such a thing? Oh well, she's been spoiled since childhood. It's only natural to be jealous when others are better than her. Luckily, her brother knows how to discern right from wrong, not blindly taking her side. Under Zoe Lynn's smug and provocative gaze, I stood my ground, back straight. I smiled, spitting out sharp words. "What nonsense are you spouting? Those who know you call you Daniel Liu. Those who don't might think a Qing dynasty ghost has possessed you. In this life, I only kneel before the spirits of my departed ancestors." I tilted my head, scrutinized him from head to toe, then let out a malicious laugh. "How about this? Go jump off a building and commit suicide. I'll immediately kneel and kowtow 3 times to send you off." Daniel Liu's expression immediately darkened. Behind him, Zoe Lynn feigned persuasion. "Classmate Liu, I know you don't like me, and I can endure your bullying, but how can you speak to your own brother like that?" She widened her eyes, tears welling up, deliberately appearing innocent and blameless. Beside her, Jason Zhang's eyes flickered with an inscrutable darkness. Then, he said in a low voice, "Tammy, if you did something wrong, just apologize and admit it. There's no need to—" I also widened my eyes, feigning distress. "Excuse me, I don't understand the barking of dogs. Could you please repeat that in human language?" "Enough!" Daniel Liu roared. "Tammy Liu, you are a girl. Do you know what modesty and propriety are? Who taught you to speak such vulgar, uncultured words?" He was still the same as in my previous life. No matter what I said, he wouldn't believe me. He only ever clung to his prejudice, nailing me to the pillar of shame again and again. I subtly curled the corner of my lips, imitating his cold demeanor, and chuckled. "Mom and Dad are busy. They don't have time to manage me. Guess who taught me? Of course, it was you, my dearest brother." In my previous life, I had always both feared and loved Daniel Liu. He was several years older than me, and in my heart, he had always been a strict and imposing older brother. When I was little, Mom and Dad were busy with company affairs. It was he who managed me. If I made even a small mistake, I'd be hit on the palm with a ruler, or punished by being deprived of food. Once, I brought home a stray curly-haired puppy I'd found on the street, but he wouldn't let the maid open the door. "It's filthy like this. This house doesn't welcome such things." So I hugged the puppy and huddled on the doorstep all night. I was still young then. I always thought that was just his nature, unable to learn the gentleness and doting ways of other people's older brothers. It wasn't until Zoe Lynn appeared that I finally realized my brother wasn't incapable of gentleness. It was just that the one treated with gentleness wasn't me. I had once seen him sitting in his car, handing hot milk to Zoe Lynn, stroking her head, and gently instructing her, "Make sure to eat all 3 meals on time. If you ever lack money, I'm here." I had also seen him on a rainy day when Zoe Lynn held a scrawny stray cat, shield her with an umbrella, and softly ask, "Do you want to keep it?" When Zoe Lynn was drunk and clung to his shirt, mumbling incoherently, he patiently listened, his eyes filled with doting affection. In my previous life, I was always trapped in a deceitful game called love, always wondering why my brother didn't love me, why my fiancé didn't stand by me. Reborn into this life, I finally woke up. I am an entirely independent individual. Without love, I can still live. This birthday party, in the end, could not conclude smoothly, because just as I was confronting Daniel Liu without backing down, my parents finally arrived. They politely thanked and saw off all the guests in the hall. Zoe Lynn still intended to pull her old tricks in front of my mother, continuing to play the pitiful victim, but my mother stopped her with a smile. "Excuse me, young lady, our Liu family matters will be handled internally. We'd appreciate it if you left now." Zoe Lynn choked on her words, tears welling up as she looked towards Daniel Liu, before finally turning to leave. Once only Daniel Liu and I remained in the house, my father finally spoke with a stern expression. "All right, now tell me what exactly happened." Before Daniel Liu could open his mouth, I quickly spoke up. "Recently, a new transfer student arrived at our school. On her very first day, she went crazy and poured water over her own head, then framed me, claiming I bullied her. Only later did I find out that she was the poor student my brother had been secretly subsidizing. Her name is Zoe Lynn." Daniel Liu, who was sitting on the sofa, suddenly looked up at me, his eyes filled with astonishment. "Surprised, aren't you, brother? The murky affairs between the two of you, I had discovered long ago." I gently pressed the corner of my red-rimmed eyes, my voice choked with emotion. "Actually, I don't blame her. It's just a birthday party. If it's ruined, then it's ruined. It's just, I feel sad. Why doesn't my brother believe me?" In this world, Zoe Lynn isn't the only one who knows how to play the White Lotus. Amidst my tearful sobs, my father slapped the table, making a decision. "All right, regardless of who bullied whom, from now on, no more trouble. If this blows up outside, it won't be good for either of you. This matter ends here." Back at school, I began openly bullying Zoe Lynn. I poured ink into her desk drawer. When she recited an English lesson with a clumsy accent, I burst out laughing, mocking her. I tore her physics exam paper to shreds, then tossed the pieces onto her head. "Go on, go tell tales again," I said with a laugh. "Isn't this your specialty?" A small piece of paper fluttered down from her hair. She looked at me, a flicker of deep-seated hatred flashing in her eyes. Yet in the end, she could only tremble, apologize, and weep. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Tammy Lou. If I did anything to upset you, I sincerely apologize. Can I make amends? Your very existence is an affront to me." I rarely raised an eyebrow in surprise. "How do you intend to make amends? By dropping dead right now?" She gaped, utterly speechless, unable to utter a single word. In the end, she could only continue to weep. For the first time, I discovered how exhilarating it was to be the villainess. Of course, she went running to the teachers. The teachers called me into their office. I recounted the events of the birthday party through sobs, finally presenting a hospital diagnosis. That day, because of her fabrications, Daniel, brother, publicly humiliated me. Every time I recall it, I break down in tears. Even nightmares wake me from my sleep. I'm currently undergoing psychological treatment and taking medication. The doctor says I've been diagnosed with severe depression. In the end, it was the teachers who ended up comforting me. Everyone could see that I disliked Zoe Lynn. Lana Sue asked, perplexed. "Why are you targeting her so relentlessly? Did she do something awful?" I tilted my head back and offered her a sweet smile. Can't I just be a bad person, using my family's wealth to look down on poor classmates? "Oh, cut the act." She rolled her eyes at me. "If you were that kind of person, why, when we first became friends, did you pay for all my high school supplies for 3 years? My family is even poorer than hers, you know. Honestly, I'd sooner believe I was Empress Wu Zetian reincarnated than believe you'd bully a classmate." This I know for a fact. That's right, this everyone understood. Only my brother and the man I loved failed to see it. My lips curved into a smile, yet my eyes held no trace of mirth. The school's 100th anniversary celebration was scheduled for 1 month later. In my previous life, it was through Daniel Liu and Jason Jiang's careful arrangements that Zoe Lynn secured the opportunity to perform a piano solo at the ceremony. This allowed her to catch the eye of the special admissions teacher, earning her the sole special acceptance slot. And me? I had begun learning dance at the age of 4, practicing for over a decade. I had also prepared a classical dance piece, but then Jason Jiang sought me out. In the schoolyard, bathed in the glow of the setting sun, he embraced me and murmured, "Could you not perform Tammy, I don't want so many people to see how beautiful you are on stage. I'd get jealous. Just dance for me, all right? Back then, I truly was a fool. I even smugly believed it was a sign of his special affection for me. And so, on the day of the performance, I truly did not step onto the stage. Instead, I stayed in the empty practice room, dancing piece after piece solely for him. When the music ended, a wave of applause erupted from the distant auditorium, crashing like the sea. Jason Jiang heard it too and suddenly let out a laugh. In my presence, he had always maintained a gentle, reserved demeanor, his smile faint, as if veiled by a thin mist. For the first time, I saw such a distinct tremor of emotion cross his face. I foolishly paused and asked, "Are you that happy?" He froze for a second. "Yes, very happy." At that time, I naively thought he was happy because I had danced solely for him. It was much, much later that I finally understood. What made him truly happy was Zoe Lin's dazzlingly successful performance. The sole beacon in his life had secured a brilliantly radiant future. I submitted the dance program I had been preparing for a long time. But this time, it wouldn't be a solo performance. I rallied all the girls in our class who had any interest in performing, and together we began rehearsing a group classical dance. I personally funded a private teacher, purchased the most exquisite performance costumes, and commissioned the finest props. Compared to us, Zoe Lin's simple white dress and piano performance suddenly seemed utterly dull and insignificant. I don't know what crocodile tears she shed, or what grievances she poured out to Daniel Liu. That evening, on my way home from school, he intercepted me in the garden. "Tammy Liu," Daniel, brother, looked at me, his face devoid of expression. "For the anniversary celebration performance, you are to withdraw." I smiled sweetly. "Daniel Liu, what drivel are you spouting now?" "Don't mistake this for a discussion." Daniel Liu's eyes flashed with cold, mocking disdain. "If you insist on proceeding, you'll bear the consequences yourself." I halted, fixing my gaze directly into his icy eyes. "Oh, brother dear, your precious little white lotus has been studying piano for over a decade. Is she still not confident enough to outshine me on stage? Truly useless trash, Sliss." With only a few days left until the anniversary celebration, Jason Jiang sought me out. "Tammy, what happened last time? I was wrong. But you've blocked all my attempts at contact and refused to see me." "I don't know what truly happened, Tammy. Did you misunderstand me, or have you fallen for someone else?" By the last few words, his voice even carried a distinct note of pain. "But you once told me you'd always love me the most." A sharp surge of fury and acute pain surged through my heart. In my past life, I had truly loved him for so many years. He said he disliked me performing kissing scenes, so I immediately turned down countless opportunities to collaborate with renowned directors. He claimed Zoe Lin came from humble beginnings, that she had been bullied in the orphanage, and urged me not to hold a grudge against her. And so, time and again, I forgave her audacious behaviors. All I ever wanted was to exchange genuine sincerity for genuine sincerity. But in return, I received only a decade of relentless slander and ceaseless hatred. In this moment, I no longer desired to even pretend. I seized Jason Jiang's collar and forcefully shoved him against the tree behind him. He gasped sharply in pain, and before he could even utter a sound, I delivered a resounding slap across his face. I showed no mercy. His pale face immediately flushed crimson and began to swell. I leaned in close, enunciating each word with chilling clarity. "You and Zoe Lin have been acquainted for a long time. I know everything. Don't you like her? Then why are you putting on this lovesick charade in front of me? You want to use me and at the same time be a lapdog for your precious little white flower? You truly are just like your fox spirit mother, who shamelessly inserted herself as a third party, knowing full well what she was doing. Utterly despicable, the both of you." As my last word left my lips, Jason Jiang's eyes swirled like an approaching storm. Yet he couldn't utter a single word. I sneered, released his collar, and turned to walk away. That night, I had a dream. Unusually, I dreamt of the events that transpired after my death in the previous life. After the cake knife plunged into Zoe Lynn's chest, I had died in unimaginable agony. She, meanwhile, was rushed to the emergency room. Outside the emergency room, Jason Jiang gripped Daniel Liu's collar tightly, his voice laced with accusation. "You explicitly said you would handle everything, that you would protect her." Daniel Liu roughly swatted his hand away, speaking with chilling detachment. "I already agreed to share her with you. An illegitimate child like you, do you truly believe you'd gain power within the Liu family without my help? Don't overstep your bounds." Jason Jiang stumbled back a few steps, retaliating. "You helped me? Clearly." He trailed off mid-sentence. Suddenly silent, Daniel Liu sneered. "That's right, my sister helped you, but she's dead now. Have you forgotten you were the one who personally arranged for her to be disfigured with acid?" Jason Jiang stood frozen to the spot, utterly stunned. The red light above the emergency room door continued to blink. A moment later, Zoe Lynn was wheeled out. The doctor said, "The patient is still not out of danger." Jason Jiang's gaze swept over her pale, bloodless face, trembling almost imperceptibly. Then he calmly opened his mouth. "I haven't forgotten, and I've never regretted it." I jolted awake from the nightmare, stumbling into the bathroom and dry heaving over the toilet for a long time. When I finally stood up, leaning my hands on the sink, I looked into the mirror. My eyes were bloodshot, brimming with hatred. "No regrets," I murmured. "It's fine. In this life, you will all definitely regret it. Regret ever being born. Just you wait." On the day of the school's anniversary celebration performance, I unexpectedly encountered Zoe Lynn by the artificial lake on campus. She was wearing a silver mini dress, modest yet luxurious, with an expensive diamond necklace around her neck. I knew very well that Daniel, brother, had most likely bought it to comfort her. "Tammy Liu, do you think the title of Young Miss of the Liu family can protect you your whole life? You've bullied me for so long, do you really think I won't fight back? I will make you pay 100, 1,000 times over. What if you know about the relationship between Jason Jiang and me? He loves me, and your brother loves only me. Someone like you fundamentally doesn't deserve anyone's love." She droned on and on, but I merely scoffed, replying with just one sentence. "Did the toilet water taste good?" Under her darkening gaze, I turned and walked away. By twilight, the sunset glow, like a brilliant flame, gradually covered the horizon. The dance team and I changed into our performance costumes, then tucked up our skirts and ran from the dance studio to the backstage area. Halfway there, I realized that the prop prepared for the closing ceremony was missing. Did I leave it in the dance studio? I thoroughly replayed the events in my mind, deciding to go back and look for it. Lana Sue asked, "Do you need me to come with you?" "It's fine. The item isn't heavy. I can carry it myself," I said with a smile. "You guys go backstage to put on your makeup first, then find the teachers responsible for props and rearrange the sequence." The vast, integrated building was completely deserted. I lifted the hem of my sequined, embroidered dress and strode up the stairs. But as I neared the floor where the dance studio was located, I stopped. Just a few steps above me on the staircase, someone was standing there. The reddish-gold light of the setting sun shone in through the window, illuminating only half of their face. The other half was shrouded in shadow, their eyes as deep as whirlpools at the bottom of the ocean. Jason Jiang. He spoke softly, his voice like a brewing storm about to unleash itself. "Tammy, what are you planning to do? What does it have to do with you? Get lost." I intended to pass him and continue upstairs. But just then, my shoulder was violently yanked. I froze for a second. By the time I reacted, my entire body was already flying backward. Behind me were dozens of towering stairs. I fell backward, tumbling down the icy cold steps. In agony that felt like being torn apart, I landed beside the iron railing, and a faint crack sounded from my ankle. Jason Jiang descended the stairs step by step, stopping beside me. He still looked at me with a calm gaze mixed with sorrow. But when he spoke, his tone was icy cold. "Tammy, Don't blame me. You've had everything since birth. Even if you miss this opportunity, there are still many other paths you can take. But Zoe isn't like you. She's tried her absolute best. Having said that, Jason Jong gripped my dislocated ankle. Then, with a powerful hand, he slammed my lower leg directly against the iron railing beside us. Suddenly, the scene from my dream flashed through my mind. He stood outside the emergency room with Daniel, brother. His eyes were filled with tenderness and love as he watched Zoe Lin being wheeled out of the emergency room. But when he spoke of me, his voice was cold and ruthless. I've never regretted it. The 15 most beautiful years of my life, my most passionate and sincere love, yet it was bound to a person like him. I suddenly burst out laughing. The moment before he could forcefully slam my leg against the railing, I unexpectedly yanked my leg free from his grasp. You useless trash! My dislocated ankle hurt so much it made me gasp for breath. But while Jason Jong hadn't yet reacted, I grabbed a handful of his hair and violently slammed his head into the railing. You piece of trash trying to harm me again? Don't even dream of it! Jason Jong's head hit the sharp corner of the iron railing with a heavy thud. Fresh blood welled from his forehead, streaming down his face, dripping onto his shirt. Tammy. I gasped for 2 breaths, released his hair, and stood up. My injured ankle throbbed with pain, but it didn't matter. I lowered my gaze to his eyes, clouded with pain, and slowly curved my lips into a smile. How profound, young master. You don't hesitate to sacrifice yourself, even destroy me, just to seize a future for your little white flower? Is this Daniel, brother's warning to me? Have you two already discussed sharing her from this moment on? Truly disgusting. I lifted my skirt and, stroke by stroke, wiped the blood from his face until the bright fabric was stained with crimson splotches. Then, leaving him lying there, I rushed into the grand auditorium as the sky slowly darkened. From afar, the melodious sound of a piano echoed. Sure enough, Zoe Lin was still playing that old piece, Debussy's Clair de Lune. She sat before a pristine white grand piano on stage, wearing the silver mini-dress. The area around the stage was plunged into darkness, with only a single beam of light illuminating her, like a shimmering star in the black night. Just like in my previous life, when she trampled upon my flesh and blood to shine brightly at the engagement ceremony, dazzling and blinding. I ran down the aisle between the rows of seats. I pushed aside the security guard and MC who tried to block my way. Climbing straight onto the stage, standing in that sole beam of light, I kicked Zoe Lin down and punched the piano directly. Under her stunned, astonished gaze, I went wild. Play, play, play! I'll show you playing! You sent your little hound to harm me, and you're still sitting here playing that damned monkey music? I, of course, knew very well. The teacher from the special admissions committee whom Daniel, brother, had invited was currently sitting in the audience. In my previous life, after listening to Zoe Lin's Clair de Lune, right after the performance, he contacted her, asking if she wanted to accept the sole special admission slot. Zoe Lin agreed. That was just the first step on her brilliant future path. Afterward, under Daniel, brother's meticulous arrangements, she was even accepted as the final disciple by a renowned master musician. As for me, because I needed to play the role of an autistic piano genius in a movie, according to my manager's arrangements, I went to seek out that master to study. Just because I encountered Zoe Lin once back then, that evening when I returned home, Daniel, brother, blocked me at the door. He looked at me with eyes full of disgust. Tammy Lou, do you have no shame? Just because you're inferior to Zoe in every aspect, you hated her so much that you tore up the handwritten score she gave to the teacher? You truly have bad blood. I was stunned for a few seconds, just about to open my mouth to explain myself, but he coldly raised a hand to cut me off. It's all lies. I won't believe a single word of your lies. A commotion rose from below the stage. I heard someone shout loudly, "Look! Her dress is covered in blood!" Her white skirt was splattered with blood and dirt, her hair a tangled mess, and her ankle alarmingly swollen. Every detail on my body served as irrefutable proof of my words. Zoe Lin clung to the piano bench, stumbling to her feet. Her eyes, fixed on me, surged with hatred and bitter resentment, but were quickly veiled by her familiar facade of innocent weakness. "Miss Lu, I don't understand what you're saying. There must be some misunderstanding." She spoke with feigned sincerity. "However, this is a performance. Out of respect for the audience, you shouldn't behave so impulsively." Daniel Lu leapt to his feet from the audience, his voice a furious bellow. "Tammy Lu, are you insane?" I acted as if I hadn't heard a thing, flung Zoe Lynn's hand away, and settled onto the piano bench. Then I began to play Beethoven's Symphony of Fate. In my previous life, to avoid needing a hand double for my performances in films, I had diligently practiced this piece for 3 months. While I couldn't claim mastery, it was more than sufficient for the current circumstances. The majestic music, crackling with a faint electric intensity, resonated throughout the grand hall's expansive dome. As the music concluded, I turned, fixing my gaze on her, and each word I spoke hammered down with resolute force. Sabotaging my birthday party, alienating my brother's affection from me, spreading malicious lies in front of my family and friends. I will personally make you pay for every single one of those deeds. I paused, observing her face, which had turned ashen white, and then I curled my lips into a chilling smile. "But you manipulated Jason Jiang into pushing me down the stairs, intending to break my leg and prevent me from ever stepping onto this stage. Isn't the piano what you pride yourself on the most? Yet you lack even the confidence to face me and win on the same stage." The scene, both on and off stage, erupted into utter chaos. Ultimately, the teachers in charge of the anniversary celebration pulled Zoe Lynn and me off the stage. The MC hurriedly ascended the stage to salvage the situation. The next item on the program was precisely the group dance we had meticulously rehearsed for so long. Backstage, I swept my gaze over the other girls in the dance team. Lana Sue rushed over with tears in her eyes, grasping my hand tightly. "You're hurt, aren't you? I should have been with you." "I'm fine." I smiled, patted her head, and gently comforted her. "Go on stage. We've practiced so tirelessly for so long. You owe it to yourselves to deliver a performance worthy of all that effort." The first prize in this anniversary performance was a reward of 100,000 yuan. From the very beginning, I hadn't choreographed this dance for my own benefit. Watching the girls' backs as they stepped onto the stage, I felt a huge weight lifted from my heart. Then, as intense pain and profound exhaustion surged through my entire body, I closed my eyes. My consciousness slowly faded into darkness. I woke up in the hospital. That night, Daniel Lu burst into the hospital room. "You mad woman! Tammy Lu, you're utterly insane!" He had originally intended, step by step, to elevate the girl he cherished into the brightest star, as if carefully cultivating a fragile blossom until it reached full bloom, all to savor the ultimate sense of satisfaction. "But, Daniel," I interrupted, "how could I let you achieve that wish? What will you do now? Your little flower hasn't even finished playing her piece, and the fact that you two intended to break my leg has already been exposed. She'll never get into her dream school now." I suddenly remembered something, and a faint smirk played on my lips. "Oh, right. Your little minion, Jason Jiang, is still sprawled out on the floor back at the multi-purpose hall. Do remember to take him to the hospital if you find a spare moment, won't you?" I clutched the corner of my blanket, laughing like a madwoman, the pain in my ankle so intense it twisted my face into a grimace. Reflected in his pupils, I saw my own distorted image, a genuine lunatic. Perhaps from the very day I died in my previous life, I had truly gone utterly mad. Daniel Lu's facial muscles twitched almost imperceptibly, and a flicker of raw fury ignited in his eyes. But in an instant, his gaze reverted to its familiar, cold, haughty indifference. "So what, Tammy Lu? Even if Zoe Lynn has failed, you haven't truly won either. What's more, your deranged display has been captured in its entirety by the cameras. This isn't something you can simply gloss over with a fake medical diagnosis like you did last time. The school has already contacted mother and father. They're preparing for you to take a leave of absence." "Ha ha 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 ha!" I burst out laughing. "It's just a temporary suspension. Do you truly believe I'd care? Daniel Liu, don't forget, I am also a child of the Liu family. Just as Jason Jiang once said, even if I lose this path, I still have countless others. From the very beginning, I had but one goal, to drag Zoe Lin down from her lofty perch. That is all. All the false accusations she hurled at me in my previous life. In this life, I will make every single one of them a reality. All the paths she once tread, I will block them, one step at a time, until none remain. Between you and me, Zoe Lin, this is far from over. I had disrupted the school's anniversary celebration in front of countless witnesses, and even assaulted Jason Jiang and Zoe Lin. The incidents where I supposedly bullied Zoe Lin at school were also leaked online, which sparked a considerable public outcry. The classic conflict between the privileged young lady and the impoverished girl always commanded significant public interest, whether a decade ago or a decade from now. The only difference was, this time, however, thanks to my meticulously articulated speech on stage, thanks to my pitiful, blood-stained appearance, and thanks to that symphony of fate, brimming with indignation and madness, quite a number of people sided with me. Are we sure it's the rich young lady bullying the poor girl? After hearing her play the piano, I don't think she's that sort of person. Hilarious. Those are probably all paid trolls. You can tell a person's character just by listening to their piano playing. No matter what anyone says, look at her ankle swollen like a bun, her whole body smeared with blood. Who bullies others and ends up looking like that themselves? Putting everything else aside, this girl's spirit is truly remarkable, generations ahead of her time. Ultimately, the girls from my dance team, led by Lana Su, even went online to passionately argue with the netizens. Tammy Liu isn't like what you're claiming. Zoe Lin started it all. She brought this upon herself. Online, the debates raged. During my hospital stay, it remained unclear what Daniel Liu had discussed with father. In any case, the day I was discharged and returned home, he regarded me with an unfeeling gaze. Left unsupervised for but a short while, you've spiraled into such chaos. Since the school won't allow you to continue your studies, then go abroad. Lie low for a few years, let the dust settle, then you can return. I was entirely unsurprised by his stance, because between Daniel Liu and me, he would always choose to side with his son. In my previous life, when the incident at the engagement ceremony broke out, my father was still alive. Daniel Liu had wanted to create such a huge scandal. How could he have hidden it from him? Yet until the day I died, he never once divulged anything to me. It's just that now I no longer cared. I subtly curved the corner of my lips. Fine, I said. You've always wanted to study acting. Let father pull some strings to get you into an arts academy. No, I abruptly cut him off. I want to study finance, I stated, to pursue a business degree. Both individuals before me were visibly stunned. Father's gaze, fixed upon me, slowly deepened. My school transfer was swiftly arranged. Jason Jiang's injuries were far more severe than mine. By the time I recovered, he was still incapacitated in the hospital. I heard Zoe Lin had visited him, even comforting him by saying this wasn't his fault, but rather due to my utter heartlessness. Lana Su brought a huge bouquet of lilies of the valley to my home to visit me. What a despicable pair! They clearly wanted to break your leg, yet they still called you heartless? I glanced at the bouquet in her hand. These flowers are expensive, aren't they? You should keep your bonus money to spend on yourselves. It's fine. Everyone knows you're going abroad soon, so we all chipped in a little. I brought it to you on everyone's behalf. She thrust the bouquet into my hands, then took a deep breath as if gathering all her courage. Tammy. I've always had this feeling, as if you know some things we don't. Ever since Zoe Lin transferred here, something about you has been very different. I don't know how else to explain it. If you don't understand, just assume I'm talking nonsense. She gently set the bouquet aside and hugged me. Remember to come back soon. When you return, I still want to be your friend. On the last night before I left, I sat with Mother on the balcony, the gentle night breeze sweeping past. Mother looked at me, wanting to speak but refraining. I took her hand and looked straight into her eyes. Mother, don't worry about me. In my previous life, my mother died in a traffic accident. When mother was alive, even if father showed favoritism, Daniel Liu wouldn't dare to treat me too cruelly. At this thought, a chill went down my spine. In my previous life, later on, Daniel Liu's love for Zoe Lin had become almost obsessive. And mother's sudden death, could it truly have been an accident? Thinking of that, my heart went cold and trembled, and I unconsciously squeezed her hand tightly. "Mother, you must be careful and protect yourself." After a moment of hesitation, I still said it. "You must be wary of Daniel Liu." "I see you're very different now than before." Mother stared blankly at me and sighed. "It's my fault. Before, you were too naive, believing anything anyone said. I once told you that kid from the Zhang family wasn't trustworthy, but you argued with me, saying he's not what you think he is. On your birthday, I demanded your father give you a share of the company, but you brushed it aside, saying dresses and jewelry were enough. It made me furious. At that time, I only hoped you would mature and become a little wiser, but if it meant paying such a terrible price, I would rather you remained as foolish as you once were. In this world, there's no mother who doesn't understand her child. In my previous life, I truly was a naive fool, always assuming the best in people. Therefore, even after Zoe Lin harmed me again and again, I still couldn't bring myself to act viciously. And in the end, I died a miserable death at my own engagement ceremony. No, Mother. I gently pressed the corners of my reddened eyes and chuckled softly. In this world, naive fools only become easy targets for others. Unfortunately, this lesson, I had to die once to learn it. The year I left the country with my suitcase, I was 18. Everything around me, from the environment to everything I came into contact with, was completely unfamiliar, but I didn't feel scared at all, because I knew too much about what would happen in the future. Although the details weren't entirely clear anymore, as long as I grasped the major turning points, it was enough for me to accomplish a great many things. Most importantly, it was 2 years later. In my previous life, when I was 20, Daniel Liu, through various information channels, personally flew to San Francisco to collaborate with a man named Harry Chu. That man possessed the most advanced core technology. Over the next 5 years, he slowly but surely helped Daniel Liu gain complete control of Liu Corporation. I took the money Mother gave me and invested it in the stock market. Relying on the remnants of my memories from my previous life, I multiplied my initial capital many times over. At the same time, at school, I spent double the time studying, while also using that money to invest in several companies that I knew would later make it onto the Fortune 500 list. At this time, those companies were still in their initial stages. During that time, Lana Su often contacted me. Every week, without fail, she would make a voice call telling me that after I left, everyone on the dance team missed me very much. She also said that thanks to the reward she received, her life had improved significantly. Earlier, School A held independent admissions, and Zoe Lin also went to take the exam, but she was eliminated right in the interview round. It was hilarious. That day, the teacher conducting the interview happened to be the one who attended our school's anniversary celebration. She said Zoe Lin's rendition of Claire de Lune sounded muddled, completely incomparable to your Symphony of Fate. Oh, who would have guessed? Zoe Lin hugged Jason Jiang and cried as if her life depended on it, while I was smiling brightly like the sun. The college entrance exam results are out, and I ranked first in the whole school and third in the entire city. When I received that message, I was swamped with final exams for my dual degree program, but I still smiled genuinely. Congratulations. Tammy, I'm still waiting for you to come back and continue being my friend. Mother also often called me, both to update me on Daniel Liu's recent situation and to ask about my life, wondering if I had enough money to spend. Every time I vaguely revealed a little about my situation, she would sigh with both heartache and pride. You're still a little girl. Don't push yourself too hard. If you ever need my help with anything, you must tell me. Don't hesitate. So I gave Mother the name Harry Chu and a few scattered pieces of information I remembered, asking her to discreetly investigate for me. Remember, absolutely do not let Daniel know. I arrived in San Francisco a month earlier than Daniel Liu. Outside the school gate, just as I was about to ask someone for directions, I suddenly saw a familiar face on a nearby lawn. Harry Chu, several years younger than the image in my memory. Opposite him was a tall, thin girl with short hair and glasses, her face cold and unyielding. That's the result of my experiment. Who gave you permission to take it and discuss commercial cooperation without authorization? Harry Chu smiled fawningly. It's not so clearly divided. Didn't we research it together? The idea was mine. I did the experiments. You were just an assistant jotting down some data, yet you dared to demand the right to handle the results? The girl retorted firmly. Harry Chu's expression darkened. Dr. Jilan-chin, don't be unreasonable. We're about to graduate, and I'm just thinking about both of our futures. What's the point of you holding on to it so tightly? It's most beneficial to find a reliable company to collaborate with for development. Let me say this one last time. That is mine. The girl named Dr. Jilan-chin stared at him coldly. The patent is in my hands. You don't even fully understand the core technology. Don't even dream of developing anything. As long as I am alive, that will never happen. And we're breaking up. From now on, I have no further relationship with you. Having said that, she turned and left. Harry Chu stood frozen in place, watching her back as she left, his gaze gradually turning ice cold. In his pupils, a hint of vicious killing intent even flashed. I stood still in place and suddenly understood. In my previous life, I once heard Zoe Lin ask Daniel Liu how he managed to control a talent like Harry Chu. Daniel Liu, at that time, held her as they sat by the swimming pool and merely gave a faint smile. Because he needed my help with something. The most important thing was, in my previous life, I had never heard the name Dr. Jilan-chin. I found a way to arrange a meeting with Dr. Jilan-chin. In a small cafe quite far from her school, she sat down opposite me. She went straight to the point. Miss Liu, I know why you're here, but my research, I'm not selling it. Why? She hesitated slightly, but finally spoke. Currently, it's only a semi-finished product. My movement of bringing the coffee cup to my lips suddenly froze. I understand that you entrepreneurs are concerned with commercial value, but I am not. I only care about the ultimate outcome, what kind of change that project will bring to humanity. To me, the achievement itself is the most important thing. I met her gaze. As she spoke of her ideals, that unadorned face suddenly radiated an indescribable light. She was a radiant girl, and she should have been a great scientist whose name was etched into history. But in her previous life, purely because of the greed of two men, she died in a foreign land. Like a speck of dust, she vanished beneath the wheels of history. Ms. Liu, if there's nothing else, I'll take my leave. I unexpectedly reached out, blocking her path. I looked at her with a sincere gaze. Dr. Chin, I am willing to fund all the research expenses and resources you need. I only ask that once the product is complete, you help me with a small matter. The achievement will still entirely be yours, and history will record your name. Do you agree? The day I returned home, the first snow of the season was falling lightly everywhere. Pulling my suitcase out of the airport, I looked up and immediately saw a billboard by the roadside. On it was the meticulously made-up face of Zoe Lin. While I had been busy building my career abroad, gathering enough power to confront Daniel Liu, he hadn't been idle either. After failing the special admission exam and interview, Zoe Lin still managed to get herself into the film academy, then smoothly entered the entertainment industry. She truly was consistent as ever. I curled my lips into a faint smile and got into the car. The car drove through streets lightly dusted with snow, heading straight to the company building. An extremely important bidding session was scheduled for 3 days later. Dr. Jilan-chin and I buried ourselves in the company for 3 days, refining the optimal proposal to perfection. And then, at the public bidding session, as expected, I successfully secured that major project. When the MC announced the name of the winning company, I stood up, meeting Daniel Liu's stunned gaze beside me. You! Tammy Liu! I subtly curved my lips. Long time no see, Daniel. As soon as the bidding session ended, he immediately followed and blocked me in the corridor. His voice filled with disbelief. Is Lanson Inc. your company? Dr. Zilan Chin disappeared because you hid her, didn't you? You're so impatient, Daniel Liu. I let out a peal of laughter. Is that what you call hiding her? You were never close to her in the first place. Why are you searching for her so desperately? Could it be you wanted to do something illegal? Seeing his eyes suddenly turn icy, I laughed loudly and walked away defiantly. This time, my return to the country was extremely ostentatious. After securing the project, I began to socialize widely, making acquaintances with many prominent figures in the business world. Thanks to holding the exclusive rights to Dr. Zilan Chin's patents and having just snatched a major contract from the Liu Corporation, everyone treated me with extreme politeness and friendliness. This was something I had never experienced in my previous life, even when I won 3 Best Actress awards. Indeed, people still need to hold the means of production in their hands. I raised my wine glass, musing. Beside me, Lana Su turned her head, assessing me from head to toe. How is it that I feel you've matured as if you've aged 10 years in just 4? It's normal, I smiled. At 18, one might rely on youth to act wildly. Now that I've graduated from university, before baring my fangs and claws, I still need to maintain some decorum. Having said that, I held up the bidding paddle in my hand. 2 million. Sitting in the front row, Zoe Lin suddenly whipped her head around. At the same time, Jason Jiang, sitting beside her, also looked toward me. Our gazes met, and I clearly saw the daze in his eyes. I quickly noticed the faint scar on his forehead. I found it infinitely amusing. 2,600,000. Jason Jiang regained his composure, immediately raising his bidding paddle to compete. I knew that diamond bracelet was the gift he intended to buy for Zoe Lin, because her birthday was in a few days. Even though he was now trying to seize power in the Jiang family's company, he was still far from Daniel Liu's complete control of the Liu Corporation. To curry favor, he could only find other ways to compensate. I matched his bid, calmly watching him spend 6 million yuan on the bracelet. I let out a soft chuckle. How deeply devoted. Jason Jiang clutched the bracelet tightly, silently looking at me. After a long moment, he finally softly called out, "Tammy, don't call me that. It makes me sick to my stomach." I took a step back as if avoiding a plague and evaluated him from head to toe. A moment later, I let out a cold laugh. At least she's better than your mistress mother. She knew how to climb to a position of success. I just don't know how you and my brother usually divide your schedules. Are you Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and him Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday? I didn't lower my voice at all when I said that. Sure enough, after the auction ended, many business partners approached me, asking what was happening. I feigned embarrassment but spoke clearly. My brother and the illegitimate son of the Jiang family are both in love with the same minor celebrity. It's really nothing major. Who hasn't been infatuated at some point? For love, anything can be endured. Not only did I spread scandalous rumors about the trio, but I also entered the entertainment industry with significant capital and began promoting a new generation of actresses. I consistently snatched up important roles that Zoe Lin had obtained in her previous life. How could Daniel Liu tolerate his little flower being bullied externally? He finally made a move against me, and that was precisely what I had been waiting for. If he didn't make a move, how could he expose himself? My name and my company were suddenly pushed onto the hot search list. Lanson founder, Tammy Liu school bullying, Tammy Liu spreads malicious rumors, Zoe Lin bullied. The old video of me smashing Zoe Lin's piano at the school festival was dug up again. The only difference was that this time, they cut out the part where I played the Symphony of Fate afterward. Not only that, but they even contacted my high school classmates to testify that I had bullied Zoe Lin. Yes, at that time, Tammy Liu hated Zoe Lin. She tore up her test papers, poured ink into her desk drawer, and led the entire class in ostracizing her. In the video, the male student witness had a righteous and indignant expression. But because she was a rich young lady, Zoe Lin could basically do nothing and could only silently endure. After the incident came to light, the school forced her to drop out. Yet she went abroad to study, and now she's returned as the founder of a rising company. My company's stock price plummeted for several days. Some business partners called, subtly asking what exactly had happened. I knew that if I couldn't provide a satisfactory answer, the collaborations would be suspended. Please wait a little longer. I twirled the fountain pen in my hand, buying time with a smile. We're all business people here. I'm sure you understand it's unwise to act rashly unless you're absolutely certain. Fortunately, Zoe Lynn couldn't maintain her composure as much as I expected. Her hatred for me was even deeper than in her previous life. Seeing me slandered, she immediately jumped out. In a live stream, she recalled the old incident with a choked voice. Back then, the teacher called on me to read an English passage. Because I attended primary school in a rural area, where one teacher had to teach many subjects, the English she taught was rather rudimentary. It was truly embarrassing. When she laughed, I realized my pronunciation wasn't standard. The performance at the school festival, I had also prepared for a very long time. I had studied piano for so many years. Her voice seemed calm, yet by the end, her eyes glistened with unshed tears. Comments flooded in like a torrent, a chaotic mix of gossiping netizens and Daniel Liu's hired trolls, frantically spamming. "There's nothing shameful about you, little one. You're amazing. Shameless wretch. How dare she mock someone diligent when she doesn't know her place?" Wait, am I the only one who noticed? Studying in a village school with no English teacher, yet learning piano for over 10 years? That sounds incredibly contradictory. Seeing that last comment, I burst out laughing. But it was quickly drowned out by countless other comments. That day's live stream garnered over 5 million live viewers. The next day, my father called me home, his expression extremely stern. "Lanson Inc. must merge with Liu Corporation immediately. 4 years studying abroad, and you've made no progress. You've only been back a few days and already caused such a mess. Hand the company over to the family, then issue a public apology." I calmly met his gaze. "Father, you should clarify. It was Daniel's girlfriend who caused this trouble, not my company having issues." "But it was also because you bullied her first." He slammed the table, glaring. "If you don't listen, consider it as if I never had a daughter like you." I merely gave a faint smile. "I apologize, but you truly never gave birth to me. It was Mother who painstakingly brought me into this world." Not long after, Liu Corporation and Jiang Corporation announced their alliance. The two families openly suppressed my company, seizing several major projects from Lansin Inc. My father also declared he was severing our father-daughter ties, claiming he didn't have a malicious daughter like me. In the company parking lot, I was nearly splashed with acid by Zoe Lynn's crazy fans. They even secretly conspired with my father, wanting to exploit the fact that I was diagnosed with a severe mental health condition during high school. They wanted to lock me away in a mental hospital. In my past life and this one, they've always excelled at such dirty tricks. In that case, my counterattack is about to begin, Daniel. They watched me continuously lose ground, believing I no longer had the strength to resist. Just then, Zoe Lynn received the first Best Actress award of her career, which also happened to be her birthday. Daniel Liu threw a grand celebration party for her. The venue was magnificently decorated, many fans were invited, and an online live stream was also set up. Zoe Lynn, dressed in a short white dress, softly and sweetly thanked her fans. Next was the segment playing congratulatory clips that fans had filmed and sent to her. On the large screen behind her, the video began to play. The footage was blurry, filmed from a covert angle, as if someone had secretly recorded it. In a studio dressing room, another actress stood before a mirror, adjusting her costume. Zoe Lynn suddenly lunged forward, grabbed the actress's hand, and forcefully slapped her own face. Then, under the other actress's bewildered gaze, Zoe Lynn smiled. "This role was mine. Who gave you permission to compete for it? You even dared to make me play a supporting role for you? Do you know who my boyfriend is? He's the CEO of Liu Corporation, Daniel Liu. Just wait until my boyfriend sees my face bruised like this. Have you figured out how you're going to apologize to me? No? You should think carefully. After the video of you bullying me is released and you get blacklisted, how will you make a living?" The final scene in the video showed Zoe Lynn glancing at the other actress's chest, then smirking meaningfully. "No!" A piercing scream erupted, and Zoe Lynn lunged forward, trying to block the screen. But it was useless. The venue immediately erupted into chaos. Amidst the commotion, Zoe Lynn's and Daniel Liu's names quickly shot straight to the top of the trending topics. Hat Zoe Lynn, my boyfriend is Daniel Liu, Zoe Lynn birthday livestream, Sar Zoe Lynn bullied again. The number of comments skyrocketed at a terrifying rate. Lana Sue sat beside me, clutching her phone and frantically typing. Sister Zoe, do you get bullied everywhere you go, or does the whole world owe you something? This comment was immediately pushed to the top hot comment spot. Save me! She grabbed someone else's hand and slapped herself. Her face is already swollen. If it's not swollen, how can she prove she was bullied? Don't call her Zoe Lynn anymore, just call her Tracy Lynn. If I recall correctly, the movie that won her the Best Actress award wasn't originally starring her. It was another, more famous actress initially, but she got caught in a scandal involving leaked explicit photos, and her career was frozen. If she couldn't snatch the role, she turned to fabricating stories and spreading dirty rumors to harm others, huh? This storm has only just begun. Zoe Lynn, this is just the appetizer. Amidst the chaos of arguments, another video shot straight to the trending topics. Filmed at an overseas university, surrounded by foreign students with hair and eye colors of all kinds. After a Chinese female student's speech, the crowd burst out laughing, mocking her imperfect pronunciation. The blonde, skinny student led the mockery, deliberately pronouncing the words perfectly, then sneered, "You know what this is? This is what you call standard English, you clown." And then, in the video, I grabbed him by the collar and punched him straight in the face. I swore at him in a flawless accent. Still laughing, are we? Would you laugh like this at your father's funeral? He was furious, roaring, and demanding a one-on-one fight. The result, another punch from me sent him sprawling. I flicked his chin up with the toe of my shoe and gave a cold smile. You know what this is? This is what you call Chinese kung fu, you country bumpkin. The person who uploaded the video was an anonymous Chinese student. I'm also a girl born in the mountains. The moment I was born, I was almost thrown into a furnace by my grandma. But unlike Zoe Lynn, my village had no piano, nor any kind benefactor who provided tens of thousands of yuan in living expenses every month. There was only a girl who took nearly 30 years to dare step out of the mountains, only to be mocked on her first day studying abroad. I simply cannot stand it when someone twists right from wrong and slanders those who once helped them. The comments beneath the post exploded. Am I seeing things? This is Tammy Liu, the one Zoe Lynn falsely accused of bullying and mocking her English pronunciation? Finally, someone said it. What village kid learns piano for over 10 years? The logic clearly doesn't add up, yet so many people believed it. Oh my god, this sister is so cool. Sponsorship? Wasn't Zoe Lynn's sponsor Daniel Liu? Who's also Tammy Liu's brother? Who knows if he just wanted to seize assets and deliberately slander her? Next, a video of my 18th birthday was played. Proof showing that year, to receive sponsorship, Zoe Lynn had deliberately jumped from the rooftop herself, then framed another orphan girl for pushing her. Proof that Daniel Liu hired assassins, not just for the unsuccessful murder attempt on Dr. Jilan Qin. To expand Liu Corporation, he and my father had committed countless shady and dirty deeds, seizing projects everywhere. To be able to collect all of this, I truly have my mother to thank. Finally, it was Jason Jiang's turn. He had psychologically manipulated his own mother for 7 years, forcing her to commit suicide right in front of his birth father. In exchange, he gained the opportunity to step into the Jiang family. I spent money like water, using every clue from both lifetimes, pushing everything onto the trending topics, one by one. Thanks to the farces they had staged earlier, public attention on this battle of grievances had now reached its peak. As illegal activities became involved, the incident immediately exploded across the internet. Netizens flooded the police lines with calls. They had no chance left to cover up or suppress the matter. Those who had once sought to manipulate public opinion. Ultimately, they would be undone by public opinion itself. Are you satisfied with this outcome? The day Mr. Liu, father, and Daniel Liu were led away by the police, Mrs. Liu, mother, produced a set of divorce papers. Daniel Liu couldn't believe it, screaming at her, "Mother, am I not your biological son? Why are you favoring Tammy Liu? I'm your son too." Your father favored you, so I will favor your younger sister, Mrs. Lu, mother, sighed softly, sat down in front of him, and elegantly sipped a mouthful of black tea. In this world, fairness always finds its own way, doesn't it? The projects that Lu Corporation and Jiang Corporation had cooperatively seized from me collapsed one after another. Their list of crimes grew by another charge, economic crimes. I took over the crumbling Lu Corporation, then merged it into Lansin Inc. Afterward, I arranged to meet Luna Jiang, who now completely controlled Jiang Corporation. She was Jason Jiang's paternal half-sister, the daughter of a commercial marriage. When I was young, I deeply resented that woman, believing she was the one who destroyed my family. But thinking back, if my father hadn't had an affair, Jason Jiang wouldn't exist. Luna Jiang lifted her coffee cup, calmly saying, "She died by her own son's hand. One could say it was karma." A year ago, I had proactively contacted her, secretly establishing an alliance. I would help her oust Jason Jiang from Jiang Corporation. In return, she would have to support me with connections and domestic resource transactions. Even this media battle on the hot search was thanks in no small part to Luna Jiang. "But I'm truly curious," she asked with a smile. "How did you guess that Jason Jiang's mother died because he drove her to it?" I smiled, offering no reply. Because in my previous life, he had done the exact same thing to me. Before the sentencing, I specifically went to the prison to visit my old acquaintances. The first person I met was Daniel, brother. He stared at me as if he wanted to devour me alive. I smiled faintly. "Don't look at me like that, Daniel, brother." "I know what you want to ask." "Being driven out like a stray dog, I've already experienced that. Do you really think that all these years I've only been living a life of leisure and indulgence abroad?" During that extremely difficult period, I could only seize every fragmented minute and second to catch some sleep. Aside from studying and operating the company, I also had to continuously expand my network of connections. From the smallest clues of my previous life, I painstakingly pieced together evidence of those 3 individuals' crimes. Because they were too practiced, too discreet, I knew this was certainly not their first time. Evildoers wouldn't just commit evil in front of me. They certainly also sowed darkness in places I had never seen, and I had guessed correctly. Daniel Lu, father always said I wasn't like his daughter. He taught you to be a hooligan who disregarded all means, trampling on the law for his own ends. Luckily, I'm not like that. The second person I visited was Zoe Lin. Her hair was messy, and her eyes were haggard. Separated by a thick pane of glass, her eyes were filled with hatred, as if she wanted to devour me alive. She screamed, losing control. "If you had the evidence earlier, why didn't you just reveal it then? Why did you have to pretend to be weak?" I shrugged, calmly standing up. "Of course, it had a purpose. If I hadn't pretended, allowing you to believe you had won everything, how could I let you fall from heaven to the most painful hell? I could have released that evidence much earlier, but that wouldn't have been enough. I wanted her to savor the feeling of believing she had won, of thinking everything was within her grasp, only to then, right before the dawn of victory, witness everything collapse. Just like what I had experienced in my previous life. Zoe Lin, this time, it's your turn." The last person I went to see was Jason Jiang. Honestly, I hadn't intended to meet him at first. Zoe Lin and I were enemies from beginning to end, while with Daniel Lu, there was a tangled blood relation. But Jason Jiang, after the love I had for him completely vanished, there was no longer any connection between us. But the police said Jason Jiang wanted to see me one last time. So I sat down, facing him through the thick pane of glass. He quietly stared at me for a long time, until I began to lose my patience and stood up. "What exactly do you want from me?" "It shouldn't have been like this," he said hoarsely. "It's just that you were no longer around to know." How ridiculous. Utterly ridiculous. That's right, I was already dead. Of course I couldn't know. I turned back, pressing my hand against the glass pane, speaking each word with cold precision. But even if I knew, so what? Who needs your regret? This time, I am the victor. You are the one descending into hell. Jason Jung, this is the retribution you deserve. Winter arrived early that year. When I left the prison, the sky outside was already pitch black. Doctor, Jilan Chin called, saying that after Tet, she would go abroad to a research institute to start a new project. I agreed, then wished her a safe journey. After hanging up, Lana Su's message appeared on WeChat. "We're all at the hot pot restaurant already. Hurry and come pay." I chuckled, replying with a single word, "Coming." Outside the car window, a crescent moon hung in the sky, illuminating a corner of the ink-dark night. Just past this night, when the moon sets, my sun would rise again. End.